Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat podcast, or should I say good evening, as that is the topic of discussion today. We're going to be talking about Unai Emery to start with. We're going to talk about Aston Villa in general after a very impressive result at the weekend. But yeah, should we start with Emery? Because our resident Aston Villa fan has been sat here grinning since it was announced around 10 o'clock-ish? 8 o'clock-ish last night. It was, that's a pretty big announcement, it has to be said. I'm a little sceptical of it as an outsider looking in, but it has to be said, he's got a proven record, especially in Continental Cup competitions. Could he bring that success to Villa Park? Would be interesting to see. I do fear, though, if you look back at his last tenure in England at Arsenal, it did go completely horrifically wrong. So it depends which Emery you get, but yeah, go on. What are your thoughts on the appointment?
I think the main thing for me is what I'm happy about is his play style. The 4-2-3-1, and this will link to the 4-0 win against Brentford. We saw what happened when you play Villa players in the right system. Gerrard just refused. Gerrard would play his favourites, McGinn, Ramsey, Coutinho, would stick with the same formation, it wouldn't work and would lose every week. Aaron Danks was given one game, he just told us, stick to your positions, play the 4-2-3-1, we won 4-0. Leon Bailey looked like the player that we bought at the start of last season. He actually looked like the quality that we paid for.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant to see.
To be fair, he did show elements of that last season. I think back to, I believe it was Everton.
Yeah, he scored.
Last year,
scored 2 on his debut.
he scored, there we go.
And got injured.
Do remember something about it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Right. Last season was so up and down for Bailey, but he definitely showed glimpses of what he could do. And again, here in this 4-0 win, he showed exactly what he's capable of. And I do think if he can utilise that direct threat which Leon Bailey poses, Emery could have great success. There's also rumours that he's looking to buy new wingers, though.
I mean, he is said the owners are prepared to back Emery in January with whatever money he needs to buy who he wants. And again, I look for the whole team, though.
I was going to say, what areas would you target with that kind of
centre half
funds? I'd also say something in the midfield.
Yeah.
I think you look incredibly porous, especially with John McGinn in there.
I also look at Arsenal's problem, what we saw under Emery. Arsenal look really good going forward against Emery, but terrible at the back.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how it's going to go for Villa. Because
that's in direct contrast to his Villarreal side, who really struggled for creativity, but defensively barely conceded. I mean, I look at their Champions League run last year in that flat 4-4-2. It was exactly the sort of system that just got results over the line. And is that what he could potentially use in the league, or is that more just this demonstrate once again Emery's play style is so suited well to cup competitions, because you can just set up, go for the draw, hit one on the counter, and you're through to the next round.
I've said since the appointment is that I don't know how well I haven't made any. I think it'll go well in the league, but I think the big result for Emery will be, I think we will beat Manchester United in the Carabao Cup tie.
This was my immediate reaction: is could they win the Carabao Cup?
I think that'll be Emery's big statement if we win that game.
If they didn't have United, I'd back him.
I think we can beat United. I really do.
Depends on United team. Depends what United team. Especially since they've played him the week before, right?
Yeah.
Villa's next game is against Manchester United in the league. Then it's Manchester United in the cup. No, it isn't, is it? It's got the game before then, surely.
Yeah,
I think because United play West Ham this weekend.
But I this is phenomenal. I'm so really happy.
Oh, 4-2. No, Emery's first game will be United. It's that Villa have a game before then.
But obviously, Emery cannot manage until November the 1st because of the work permit. So they've all got to be sorted out.
We'll finish off on Emery. What kind of players would you be looking at him signing? I know we mentioned briefly sort of positions, but who would you want to bring in? I know that Arnaut Danjuma's been mentioned by a lot of Aston Villa fans. I think that would be an intriguing signing and bringing him back to the Premier League.
I look at it,
don't think he did too well.
I think Bailey is sorted on the left. I think.
Well, that's where Danjuma plays. But
well, Bailey can put on the right. We can put Bailey on the right.
Yeah.
I don't think
that is where Buendia is best. But Buendia did alright.
Buendia looked really good middle. Danjuma on left. Because Coutinho was such a Gerrard signing because they're best buds.
Yeah.
And I look at the backup wingers. Who?
I mean, at least you don't have El Ghazi and Trezeguet anymore.
They're gone. But Trezeguet's gone. But yeah, I think
Dean Smith got more out of them lads than Gerrard did.
Danny Ings up front looked phenomenal against Brentford.
Well, should we go on to that Brentford game?
Yeah, go on.
Aston Villa 4, Brentford 0. What a game. I'll be honest, we were just sat there Sunday afternoon, check the score. It's 3-0 after 15 minutes.
Yeah, it went on TV. I was so annoyed. Why? Out of all the Villa games that have been on TV this year.
Kept getting notifications. I was like, the 2 o'clock just started.
Danny Ings scored.
And then literally 2 minutes later, there was a goal from... Was it Bailey scored?
Bailey scored the first and Ings got 2, and then the fourth was... Who got the fourth? Watkins came on.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though.
No, Watkins started on the left.
Oh yeah, Bailey.
Watkins started on the left, where I think he looked a lot better from what I've heard from Villa fans.
But if you bring down Junior
in,
Ings looked phenomenal. I know one of the goals was a penalty, but the other goal was good. And
the thing is, what the biggest problem for Gerrard is he's been trying to play 2 strikers who work best solo, up front together, and obviously that's not worked.
But what I look at, and also I think this goes into also a bit of the World Cup with England, is that if you play Danny Ings as your starting striker, he played really well against Brentford, and I think he'll continue on. Then that impact of Ollie Watkins just bring a bit of pace and energy into the game, to make runs beyond the tiring defenders. I think that could be key for Emery at Villa, but also could be key for Southgate.
We have mentioned this a few times when discussing who should be going on that plane, is that potentially Ollie Watkins would be a better choice than a Tammy Abraham, because Abraham's a similar profile of player to Ivan Toney and to Harry Kane. Actually, you want something different in there, but I don't know. Watkins' performances this season haven't merited any sort of World Cup minutes.
I know, but still,
as an option, it would make more sense to take either Toney or Abraham and then Watkins. I think.
Yeah, and
equally, you could play Sterling in that role.
Yeah, but
you could play Foden in that role. No, Sterling struggled, and we'll get onto him a little later in the show.
But I do think that Villa looked very good. I think defensively actually looked really good. I think the pivot of Luiz and Dendoncker, maybe Dendoncker wasn't a bad signing after all.
I never thought he was, to be honest. He's a defensively solid player. Yeah. It's a deadline day rush signing because they thought Douglas Luiz would go, and then when Douglas Luiz didn't go, it was a bit of an odd one. But it's more the fact that we've not seen him play, which was a strange choice, because he can cover at centre half, and Villa have really struggled for good centre backs this year. He can play DM, where Douglas Luiz, arguably shouldn't have played today.
Yeah, I think the red card was interesting. I think the big thing, obviously, so Aaron Danks obviously made the big call before the game to drop McGinn and Ramsey out of the squad. And
Coutinho also didn't start. And I think that's the greatest demonstration of merit over reputation, which is what the inverse of what Steven Gerrard did.
Gerrard was just playing his favourites. Him and Coutinho were mates. He liked John McGinn. And, he liked Jacob Ramsey.
It's a similar thing to what we've seen with, I think, Graham Potter a little bit at the start of his tenure at Chelsea. We've seen Aubameyang get a lot of minutes, not really doing much with them. Sterling get a lot of minutes. He's struggled. Jorginho get a lot of minutes and he's not played well. And it's a similar thing to how we've seen other managers fail in recent seasons. Hopefully Emery doesn't do that.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, if I look at those 3 players, McGinn I'm not bothered about. Emi Martinez captained the Villa side as he's our vice captain. Yeah, that's phenomenal. No need to change that. I would like Emery as our captain.
Yeah.
I think McGinn should be benched. And I think Jacob Ramsey can come into the side in that cam role.
But I think it was good to bench him because it showed him that no one in that team is undroppable.
Yeah,
and I think he needed that kick up the arse.
I think Ramsey, I like Ramsey.
Yeah, but Coutinho's just been poor performance. Yeah. Ramsey has had some good games this year, but I think the last few he's not been his usual best.
Ramsey, play him actually in cam, give him that role in the middle of that 3 in the 4-2-3-1 where he's a
good rotation option, but I think Buendia's the best starter in that role.
And then it gives you the licence though to move Buendia out onto the right and bring Ramsey in through the middle. That's the thing, you want to have that licence so you can play it game by game. If you go for, say you've got some slow centre-halves, or you've got, say, Liverpool, for example. If it was against Liverpool, I'd play Ollie Watkins up front instead of Danny Ings, because you're going to run past Trent and he's got a field day making those forward runs.
Yeah, fair enough. One thing we've not touched on yet, we've mentioned a lot about Aston Villa, we've not mentioned Brentford. Capitulation, really.
Yeah.
To lose 4-0 to a side who've struggled a lot.
New manager, bounce, new formation.
Is this worrying for Brentford, or is it just a minor blip?
I think it's a minor blip because Brentford is all about long term. One little result won't affect them too much. Thomas Frank is staying for the long term as well.
Well, the motto's always been
exactly
performance over results, stats over just the eye test.
We know they've been very up and down this season, but they're not doing. You know, the 11th in the Premier League is still absolutely fine.
And that's what stuns me, is that I don't remember Brentford playing well this season, other than the Man United game and the fact they scraped a draw at Chelsea.
I think it's little things like a point at Chelsea beats, you know, and they win. That's the thing, they've been so hit and miss. Well, people don't remember the wins, they remember the losses.
But the thing is, I don't think they've done well enough this first half of the season that the second half can be allowed to drop off.
No.
They sort of had the reverse last year, where they struggled a lot in the first half of the season. Ericsson carried them for the second half. So far, Ivan Toney's carried them for a lot of this first half season. Through his penalties, through his open play goals.
A result that I've always remembered, and I think a lot of people forget, for example, they beat Leeds 5-2.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's not a big
forgot
result.
That was even a game.
Exactly. But, you know, people, not even I, as we came recording today, I forgot they beat United 4-0. People forget the big results, because obviously recently, you look at loss to Villa, draw at Chelsea as a big point, and then
you make some really good points.
Beat Brighton. They beat Brighton.
Brighton are such a strange one. They played really well at times this season. They've been able to match up with the big dogs, and then they're throwing away points at clubs they really should be doing better.
Good, but Potter's better.
It was the same thing with last season, though. It just seems to be a Brighton thing. I remember back to Norwich last year. They drew with them both times. Norwich was shite last year.
Yeah.
Well, and both times they dropped points.
They are just, they take points from the rich and give them to the poor.
Similar to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Beat Man City, lose to Forest, which actually isn't a game we've put on the board today.
Which is why,
we've only put them on top four, which says a lot.
Brighton and Liverpool will find themselves in similar spots in the league table.
And to be fair, they are, aren't they? They're both in that 7th, 8th position.
Because they lose to the little clubs and beat the big clubs. Which is perfect if you're Chelsea and United and that. Because if you don't lose to them, then you're laughing. But
United did lose to Brighton.
I think very true. Oh, yeah, I've got that hand. But no, I wouldn't worry about Brentford.
Have United Liverpool played? Well, I can't. Yes. I was going to say, I swear they have.
United won. But yeah, Brentford don't need to worry. They're still doing alright and they're still around the mid-table. But for Villa, things look very, very good.
We mentioned Chelsea United there. I think that's a nice segue. Should we get into that game on Saturday night? We were, of course, live for it. So if you want to see us air our frustrations live...
No one bothered to turn up until the 87th minute. Until Scott McTominay was
to be fair, the chat was decently flowing.
I meant the game.
Oh, right, no.
I meant the game. No one bothered to play any football until Scott McTominay walked onto the football pitch.
Fair enough, that makes more sense because we were just slagging off our viewers.
Thanks to everyone who came. It was a great stream.
I was like, what's this man waffling about?
I meant the game. It was just missed chance after missed chance for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Aubameyang missed a few. Sterling was wasteful. And we can't just rely on Mason Mount to carry the team forward. Midfield again. I cannot watch a Jorginho room Loftus-Cheek pivot ever again.
I think they looked better. The first 35 minutes, I'll give you, Jorginho really struggled to have any impact on the game, do anything really, other than negative. But
Mateo Kovacic.
As soon as you make it a 3, as soon as we switched up to that diamond, we looked a lot more solid.
Absolutely Rolls Royce for a player. Love it.
Yeah. And Jorginho looks so much better in a 3. I just can't understand why we haven't made that switch. We know now we're comfortable playing a 4 at the back.
We've got so many midfielders.
Exactly, we can play it. Well, we don't. Kova's usually injured. Kante's been injured the whole year.
I meant Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Gallagher, drop Mount.
That sounds like the worst pivot ever.
Horrific.
Poor Jorgie is having to do everything defensively because Connor's playing up front.
I think we let Loftus-Cheek do the defence.
Well, yeah, when we played the 4-1-2-1-2, which what it appeared to be the other night, we had Jorginho as the sitting DM and then
which didn't Kova Loftus stopped the ball getting Jorginho, which helped.
No, even when Jorginho's in that role, he's got 2 outlets. When he's in that defensive mid role in a 2, he's either got to play it sideways, which he loves, and that's always worrying that when he just plays it sideways, or he's got to pick out one of these, defence splitting passes.
Which he can't do.
Well, exactly, but he can, but he has to have time. Yeah. And you don't get afforded that time in the Premier League. So instead, he ends just bashing it out for a corner.
Serie A, he would pick that ball up, take a touch, play a beautiful ball over top to Chiesa.
so enough time to pull out a cigarette, light it, and have about 3 smokes before that ball's gone over the top.
Yeah, exactly.
When they were at Napoli.
We can't bench him. He's our top goal scorer.
Yeah, he's scored a lot of pens this year. That was, of course, Chelsea's route to goal.
Because we do need him to get a penalty to score. In big games like the United game, if he wasn't on the pitch, maybe we don't score that penalty.
Yeah, you mentioned though the Aubameyang and Sterling, the amount of chances they wasted and how we weren't clinical enough. But we saw Breuer come on, and the burst he made forwards that resulted in Scott McTominay. I've run out of superlatives to describe him with.
What was he doing? He just grabbed him.
Yeah. I don't think superlatives is the right word, but words to describe whatever that man was trying to do.
Similar to Aaron Danks, Potter's got to bench his big name players to show that they haven't been good enough. I want to see Breuer start. Let's give Pulisic a go. Let's not Ziyech actually, but give Pulisic, give Breuer.
I wouldn't mind a 4-1-2-1-2 with Pulisic and Breuer up front together.
Yeah.
Chelsea play Brighton this weekend. Potter against his former side. I'll worry you.
By the time this goes out, with the Salzburg game over, we haven't seen the Salzburg game, but I want to see Pulisic, Breuer.
Exactly. I didn't even think about that. That would be ideal because that's a game we should be winning.
The other option is that we play Auburn and Sterling to try and get them a goal to give them a bit of confidence
against Salzburg.
Yeah.
We've got Brighton at the weekend. We shouldn't be going, we need desperately to get a goal against Salzburg.
To be fair, it's Tuesday. They've got till Saturday.
Yeah, what's the point?
They've got days to rest.
No, but we've been playing like every other day for the last month.
Play on Sunday, so I want to. Saturday. So they only had 2 days. Let's bench them.
Also, and those midweek fixtures last week and then weekend before that.
Let's start Breuer. Let's give our. I want to see changes defensively. Equally though, on the topic of it, Chelsea we drew. We are still unbeaten when Trevor Chalobah has started.
It was a mess. I mean, the goal conceded Chilwell, man. Honestly, I don't know what he was doing.
Casemiro of all people.
I know, it's frustrating. And then Kepa. I've loved him this season, but I do feel he should do better from that. Year. But I'm not going to complain too much because he's that was our first goal conceded.
Second goal conceded in goal.
I was going to say, since our last one, we'd accumulated 6.91 XG without conceding. That's good. So that's absolutely insane for Aretha Barker.
Kepa's saves in the first half especially were massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's kept us in games at times. I look at the Brentford one.
The one from Ericsson. And Brentford, we'd lost that too.
Last Wednesday, they had a lot of chances. I mean, Tony, from very close range, heads it, and Kepa's able to tip it over.
I mean, obviously, the manner that it happened, Chelsea will feel robbed, but I think in terms of the whole game, it was probably the right outcome.
Yeah, I think a point is just.
Yeah,
for both teams.
But I also think for both teams, they're on the up. It's looking good for both teams. Chelsea, both teams under new management.
I think they look
both teams
better.
Playing well.
But you say on the up, they're actually on the down because of a very plucky Newcastle side, which I think is a very nice segue into the next game. It was Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2 on Sunday afternoon.
I mean, Newcastle, take a bow. Yeah. Eddie Howe, Magpie Army, they're flying.
They were going to be the theme of this show until Aston Villa decided to steal the headlines on Tuesday, but on Monday. Sorry.
I mean, exceptional from Newcastle. They look phenomenal.
Yeah,
and we'll get into Tottenham.
They're really fun to watch.
Focus on Newcastle. Yeah,
they don't look like conceding in games at the moment. Yeah, they conceded that one goal to Kane, and that's really annoying because Pope and Trophy are in my fancy team. But
I look at it. Every player's on
still
form
look really good. Yeah,
Wilson's firing. St. Maximan's obviously going to come back from injury.
Miguel Almiron. Ever since Jack Grealish slagged him off.
I know.
Ever since he said that, Bernardo Silva's looking like Almiron last season, what a mug, or whatever. It's something along those lines. Paraphrasing that, but he's looked elite.
Miguel Almiron has scored more goals this season than Jack Grealish has in his Manchester City career.
Yeah, well, this season Grealish on 1, Almiron is on 7 now.
Yeah, and Grealish has only scored 4 in the Manchester City shirt.
But that is insane numbers. Like he's up there. He's up there for top goal scorer. Obviously, disregarding Haaland, who's on 17.
For a player,
he's on 6 now.
For a player who's been laughed at last season for not being great, he's in front of us. And another man who looked horrific when he came to the Premier League, Joe Linton. What a turnaround!
It's a transformation, isn't it? But once again, it's looking at a player and their profile and being able to fit that profile to a position rather than their predetermined position. Because Joe Linton, they just seemingly someone along the line said, yeah, he's a striker, and then that was just it. He is a striker now. It took Eddie Howe to come along and go, this guy can't score, this guy can't shoot, but he's a good passer and he can run. Where are you going to put him? Middle midfield. Yeah, and he's actually scored a load more from there. So actually, when he's given those really kind of positions to score from, he does well.
And to think, you've got players, obviously, St. Maximin's only just come back from injury. Alexander Isak is still injured. Put him in that.
It's a scary prospect. It's a scary prospect because people talk about when clubs have a good start to the season. You know, you look at your Bournemouths, your Brightons, and your Brentfords. I think last season, I'd say Leeds the season before, Sheffield United the season before that. In recent years, it tends to be a really strong first half of the season. They kind of lose steam over Christmas, and that fades away towards the end. But with Newcastle, not only do they have the World Cup this year. When not many of their players are going to go.
Joe Linton will not be.
I was going to say, well, potentially Bruno Guimaraes might make the trip.
Oh yeah,
you'd imagine.
We haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah, exactly. You imagine Trippier will likely go with England. Potentially Dan Burn. I'd argue deserves a spot in the World Cup side.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think you can justify taking Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, an injured John Stones, and Eric Dyer over Dan Burn this year.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I think the big thing for me,
they were bottom, and he has to go for me.
Newcastle beat the little sides, not the little sides, but outside the big six.
Yeah.
But they also beat the big six. Draw to City, draw to United, beat Tottenham.
You have to consider Newcastle top six side now. I think
100%. And I know.
I don't care for the big six, whatever. Reputation doesn't really mean much in the Premier League.
And for me, the difference is they haven't gone out and. I mean, yes, they've had the investments, but I think the big thing for me is they haven't gone and splashed the cash on these big players, and they haven't got Neymar and Mbappe.
They've recruited smartly.
Exactly.
They've looked at the players they need. They've asked Eddie Howe, look, what profile do you want us to go and sign? Evidently, he said, we need a striker because Wilson's too injury prone. We need someone young, we need someone quick that can get, we'll play the ball in behind and he'll finish it. And they went and picked up Alex Isak.
Exactly.
60 mil, I think it was. Less than that, I believe. But fantastic acquisition.
What I really...
Bruno Guimaraes as well, Trippier, Dan Burn.
They're the ones I like. Exactly.
Such smart piece of business.
When they bought Trippier, Pope, Dan Burn, everyone thought, they should be mid-table players.
I mean, Pope for 20 mil, right?
Yeah, Eddie Howe has turned these type of players into world-class players. Miguel Almiron, Bruno Guimaraes. Nobody this season would have thought that they'd be scoring goals in a top four side.
It's a wonderful mix of underrated exports, players that have been tearing up in Ligue 1 and have looked at the attributes they possess and have been able to fit them in this side, and players in the Premier League that have gone under the radar, like a Dan Burn. Arguably, he should have been sold for a similar price as Ben White, but for whatever reason, he wasn't, and now, I'd argue Dan Burn is a better centre-half than Ben White right now.
And I think that Dan Burn has looked so much better at Newcastle than he did at Brighton. But I think Newcastle looked at
That's what I'm saying, is Dan Burn did sensationally at Brighton. Just no one knows that.
But they looked at the type of player they needed. They went, this guy has the potential to be what we need, and Eddie Howe has got that potential out of him.
Well, they needed that Premier League experience, but what they also wanted was a potential world beater, and they've picked up Sven Botman, and that's a very solid piece of business. Because what they can do is, while he still adapts to the Premier League, you've got Dan Burn, you've got Jamal Lascelles.
Kieran Trippier's been here before.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've got players around him that can solidify the team. And then you just rotate Botman in and out of the side. You make sure he gets comfortable with the Premier League.
I think
and he's 24?
Yeah.
So you're probably going to get another 8 years out of him. He's got potential Newcastle captain material.
Yeah.
Written all over.
Or he overstays, which I think he will. Because I think there's no step up. Because I think Newcastle will be right up there.
Yeah, it depends obviously, because if a club like a Barcelona come knocking, it's hard for a player to say no. And if Newcastle can get enough for him, if they can turn a healthy profit, then why wouldn't you?
And I also look at it as, if in terms of winning something this year, if you're Newcastle, look at the Carabao Cup for example. Chelsea have got City, one of them will be knocked out. United have got Villa, one of them's going to be knocked out. That's immediately two big sides knocked out. And then you're looking at what, Newcastle,
United and Villa.
Really, as I said before, Villa have the potential to knock United out.
Yeah, okay. If United knock Villa out, though,
which means,
I think Newcastle are going, wow, piece of cake now, isn't it?
For example,
Now that Unai Emery and there's no Ashley Young in the competition, we're going to walk it, mate.
Say, you could end up with it just being Newcastle, Liverpool, Chelsea, Villa.
Yeah, then let me think we can walk it.
No. I'm just saying that you're knocking United out.
Right.
You're losing all your big clubs there.
Potentially. That Chelsea beating City, though.
Who have Newcastle got?
Not confident.
I don't actually know.
What, in the Cup?
Yeah, in the Carroll Cup.
Bournemouth? West Ham? Something like that, isn't it?
Let me have a look.
See if I can beat you to it.
But yeah,
Newcastle have been incredibly impressive this season. And we're obviously top scorer with 6. He's only 2 off Ivan Toney, by the way. 4 off Kane. And 11 off Erling Haaland.
They've got Palace.
Oh, that is a tough tie.
At home.
And St James Park is a fortress, I agree, but Crystal Palace is a tough side.
Things that we say it's a fortress.
That have looked a bit all over the place this season.
Okay, I did say they've done well against Big Six, but their only loss this season is to Liverpool.
Yeah, and Liverpool, just you never know what team's going to turn up, really, do you? And even in that game, we were saying that it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I remember we weren't covering that one on the night, but that was the game we switched to, I believe.
0-0 draw to Brighton, 3-3 draw to City, beat Tranmere.
Yeah.
That
was the one that really made the difference.
But yeah, Newcastle look like they. And if you're what I think now getting onto this team, I said that United, Chelsea, Newcastle in 4th, 5th, and 6th are on the up. The team in 3rd, Tottenham, have got to be worried.
Yeah, especially since Chelsea and United both have games in hand. If they win, then Tottenham suddenly slip to 4th. 1 or 2 bad results, and Tottenham could find themselves 6th, which I think would be
even Fulham.
A much better showing of a much better. What's it called? Showing, I guess, of where they stand in the Premier League.
It'd be more. I get what you're saying.
I think retrospective, but that's not the right word.
Yeah, what it is.
Representative.
There you go. Something like that.
Yeah, of how good they are.
It looks like it should do.
By the way, Fulham are 2 points out of Liverpool. I loved that as a thing.
Yeah. But I think on Tottenham, back-to-back losses now to United and Newcastle. I know they're 2 tough games, but if I look at Tottenham's record against the Big Six this year, it's not been good. I think the draw at Chelsea should have been a loss. The loss to United, loss to Newcastle. Who else do they lose to?
Well, I got Bournemouth this week.
They're
a team that can provide an upset. I'll give you that, but
that is a test.
It is Bournemouth.
There is a test. What I'm saying is, if they win, everything's okay. It's okay, not too bad. If they lose, they need to have a bit of a
especially with Liverpool the week after,
and
which
Leeds
will of course be covering on TFC
Leeds
Live.
at home.
Yeah, that's a win. So they should take 6 points from these games, potentially
but I think
9.
Tottenham just need to kind of clear their minds a bit. 2 losses to 2 big sides. They need to reset and
they need to.
For them,
need to clear their minds.
They could beat Bournemouth 5-0 this weekend, and suddenly it's all right.
Yeah, then they definitely.
If they lose to Bournemouth, they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think we've focused a lot of our attention on the show so far at the top of the table. I think it might be time to have a little look further down, because I have to say, all of the bottom 10 I think could get relegated this year.
Yeah, I think Villa now.
I think the fact that we've seen such good performances from Bournemouth and Fulham has sort of.
I mean, Bournemouth are still 14th.
Yeah, but that's still a lot better than I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be bottom. But
one team that I thought would see much higher this year after
bottom.
Their recruitment is Leeds.
You reckon?
I looked at Christensen, Aronson. I saw Bamford coming back. They lost Tyler Adams, Mark Rocker.
I feel like we put them top of our transfers.
Yeah, we're near the top.
Tier list.
I thought Marsch is in. They looked really good towards the end of last season. Obviously kept in the Premier League. I thought they'd be on the up. It hasn't been that easy.
No, it certainly hasn't.
We've got 2 wins this year. One
relegation zone.
One of them
now.
was Chelsea. Who was the other one? Can't remember. But I think you look at it. Bamford's been back for a few games now. He still hasn't scored this year. Games like Arsenal, where I know it's Arsenal, but Leeds had 2 penalties, if I'm right, or at least 1.
Yeah.
And they still lost the game 1-0.
They have got a game in hand though. So as much as people saying they're a bit all over the place, if they win that, they suddenly climb all the way up to 15th.
Wow.
Well, no, but that's at least not in the relegation zone. Equally, I think that game in hand's probably a toughie, isn't it?
The loss to Brentford.
Isn't that game in hand against United?
Yeah, maybe.
Have a look.
But Leeds, I think Leeds need to be careful. Leeds, and so is Jesse Marsch, because I think we saw out on Bielsa. Leeds.
They've got a game against United.
Yeah,
Is
Leeds
that a game in hand?
Need to be careful.
Yeah. I think. Do you think it's time to sack Marsch? I know that a lot of Leeds fans think they should be sacking him, and people saying that the board is so inconsistent because Bielsa, who is obviously loved by Leeds fans, I think there's a little bit of bias there, but Bielsa picked up more points in fewer games, or like the same amount of points in the same amount of games, and got sacked for it. Towards the end of the season when he had a lot of players injured, and yet Marsch has been afforded that same time when it's his squad, he's got no injuries.
Similar to Villa with Dean Smith and Gerrard. Villa was so quick to get rid of Dean Smith, but they gave Gerrard time.
Equally, 3 games before the winter break for the World Cup.
I think you keep him, see what happens. If you lose
this is what I was saying about Villa though, and they've been Gerrard, so...
Yeah, but Villa...
And every Villa fan's buzzing, so...
Villa lost 3-0 to Fulham.
I agree, but Leeds lost 3-2. So maybe Fulham are out here sacking managers everywhere.
I think give Marsch the 3 games left.
If they're still in the relegation zone by the World Cup...
Sack him.
Out he goes. Straight to the America job.
I really
which will be vacant after they're bottom of their group because the mighty England have battered them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, but sure.
I think if they lose all 3, as you said, they're still in the relegation zone. It's time for Jesse Marsch to go.
But yeah, in terms of other managers that could get the sack.
Hang on, just quickly. I also think that Jesse Marsch has spent at least half this year off the touchline because he's been banned.
He has fought every manager, yeah. And the only ones he hasn't fought are the ones where he's been suspended.
I was going to say.
But yeah,
interesting.
Look at other managers then. Wolves have sacked their manager. They've still not appointed anyone.
Well, they're going for Mick Beale, and then Mick Beale said, no, I prefer QPR.
But what the hell would be the point in sacking a manager and then not hiring anyone?
Like Villa went bang. 2 days after Gerrard's gone, let's get Gerrard. Not get Gerrard in.
Like they've genuinely. I can't understand that. It makes no sense as to why you'd go. Yeah, we desperately need a new manager.
With Bournemouth, Gary O'Neill's been flying. Wolves haven't.
Yeah, so it's not even like they've had a good coach come in.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened at Wolves. They're just stagnating at the moment. Steve Cooper at Forest.
They're doing alright.
It looks like he'll stick around.
Big win at Liverpool. Huge win.
Yeah, put some level on points with Wolves and Leeds now.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially could they pick up a few more points in their games to come?
Yeah, I think Forest are alright.
Let's go see if they've got quickly.
Because as we've said all the time with Forest, they have potential. Who have they got next this week?
So it's Arsenal away.
Okay, well let's rule that one out.
Brentford at home.
That's a winnable game.
Palace at home.
They're 2 winnable games.
They've kind of got to take 6 points, haven't they, at this stage of the season?
Okay, well, that's a bit harsh.
But they need points.
Palace and Brentford are still good sides.
Yeah, but they need points.
They might beat Arsenal.
Rodgers, Leicester. I really don't know.
How is that man still
They beat Wolves 4-0.
Yeah, Wolves, as I said, Wolves are absolute crap.
Yeah.
I think you sack him yet. I think again, same with Marsch. Give him to the World Cup. If they're in the relegation zone, he goes.
Yeah, fair enough. Southampton, Ralph Hasenhüttl. I feel like they're always
How are they
down there.
They've done so well.
Well, they've looked all right, but they have had big injuries. Arnaut Bella-Kotchap is still out injured.
Back now.
Romeo Lavia is now returning, which is good. He can get 3 games in before Chelsea sign him in January.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
I think Hasenhüttl's fine. They stick with him. He's lost 9-1 twice. He can't get a sack.
Villa have already binned one off. Yeah. Bournemouth seemingly aren't going to hire one. They're just going to keep giving O'Neill. Because if they keep on a caretaker's contract,
then they'd have to pay.
They don't have to pay him as much. It's very smart from Bournemouth. As for Palace...
That's fine. Keep
Vieira's not doing bad at all. Everton, they're not... What?
Lampard.
I was going to say, Gerrard's certainly not smashing
They look brilliant. Alex Iwobi masterclass on Sunday.
I mean, we do a podcast about him.
Yeah.
He goes and smashes it.
I was going to
say, is Emery now going to put it top corner? Just saying, who knows?
Did he come summing himself on in like the Villa kit, Emery 99 on the back, runs on for a penalty.
And then Brentford.
There you go, sack Frank.
They've got a free 3 points this weekend, which is nice. They're playing Wolves. So...
Well, that's it. If you lose that, rethink. Not rethink. Just, I don't know with Brentford.
Rethink. Sack everyone.
West Ham had a slow start, but they're 10th. How were they... Sorry. Can we just...
I know.
When did West Ham get 10th?
Well, they've sort of... It's been a weird Premier League season, hasn't it?
They beat Forest on Monday night.
Yeah, Bournemouth on Monday night. The week before that, they lost to Liverpool. The week before that, they drew with Southampton.
When did they beat Fulham?
They beat Fulham, they beat Wolves.
Lost to Everton.
So basically, they had some tough games, like... Chelsea in game week 6.
When did Chelsea play West Ham?
I don't remember that game.
I don't remember that game either.
It's a 3:00. They drew with Tottenham.
When did they draw with Tottenham?
They beat Villa.
Yeah, but come on.
So basically, West Ham have been shit this year.
But somehow...
Wolves, Villa, Brentford, Bournemouth,
Forest.
and Fulham and Forest are keeping them alive. Fair enough. They've got 14 points to their name.
Well, I'm confused because obviously I was listening to David Moyes' post-match press conference last night, and he was saying, I know we've had a really slow and tough start. And I thought, they must be down 15th. They're 10th.
But for West Ham, who want European football every year...
But equally, I think Newcastle taking their spot.
Oh. But could they take Liverpool's spot instead?
Maybe. But I think Fulham are taking their spot.
Could Tottenham drop through the order? All things we'll have to find out. Yeah. For people who do Prem predictions and FPL videos, this is the worst season ever. Because I never know what the score is going to be, and I don't have a clue who's going to score in any of those games.
We don't do our research. No,
right, yeah.
That's a joke, we do.
I think that's what we'll call it today. It's been a good one. Been better to do a longer form. How long we got to?
We have got to 34 minutes.
Things we'd love to see. The podcast has been getting shorter recently, so I thought we'll do a bit of a longer one. Yeah. We'll probably return some longer format stuff. I think that's what the people on Spotify
Let us know if you enjoy it or not.
Yeah, get involved in the comments down below. Maybe if we start doing more regular long form stuff, we'll get some more audience participation involved. Maybe we
10-hour podcast coming your way.
Maybe we can get some...
I don't fancy exporting that one.
No, that sounds horrific. Maybe we'll get some audience questions towards the end of the show, stuff like that, getting involved. But yeah, that is all for today. We've got some we've got some live streams coming up. We've got...
Come on.
Day this comes out, we've got some Champions League tonight. Don't know who we're covering just yet at the time of recording, but there will be a stream page out when this goes out, before this goes out. So yeah, look for that. I don't know which game it'll be yet. Probably Ajax Liverpool, off the top of my head. Then this weekend, we've got a Saturday morning stream, Leicester Man City. It's a game we wouldn't usually cover, but it's my birthday. So we thought we'll come on, celebrate it. Alright, don't have to join me, I'll just sit here by myself.
Party hats.
If we can find some party hats, we can do some party hats. And then on Sunday, we have West Ham versus Man United. So we can see what that West Ham team is all about.
What game is that? Sunday?
West Ham Man United on Sunday,
okay.
Sorry, they're both United and I just said words. But
West Ham United, so I thought you meant
they are the team.
They're just playing themselves.
And then we've only got, after that, I think 3 more streams to the World Cup.
It's coming.
So we're going to take a nice 2-week break from our last Prem game to our almost daily World Cup schedule. I think we start with a 17-day consecutive schedule.
It's coming home, guys.
It's going to be amazing.
It's coming home.
It's going to be amazing. So look at World Cup content starts potentially next week if we can think of a concept. If not the week after, we've definitely got some stuff coming.
Flags and Sweet Caroline on full volume. Love it.
Yes, on the England streams they're going to be vibing.
In the middle of
December. Look out for all of that. That is all though for today. Make sure to get involved, as I said, in the comments down below. If you're listening on Spotify, head on over to the YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, feel free to share the love on Spotify. We're getting more and more downloads and follows on there, so get involved there. But yeah, that is all for today. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.